I've had the great honor of working with a lot of talented and honorable people. Uh, but unfortunately, my next speaker does not fall into that category. The I'm going to introduce you to perhaps the most demented mind I have ever come across. Um, and he's been my creative partner. And if I had to hire somebody to write copy to save my life other than me, it would be him. But he and I have been through a lot of wars together. And Mr. John Carlton is going to come up here and talk to you on the subject of nightmare clients. Come up, John. Give him a big hand. John asked me to thank me for skipping the stuff about these social diseases. So you're welcome, Josh.
I was busy doing my charity work for the Widows and Orphan Fund. I don't know who that was out there, but anyway, I'm going to talk about a couple of things, and I'm going to be winging most of it, so I want you to stay with me. Like Gary said, I've been with Gary for a long time. I've been in the business for about 12 years, and I'm a copywriter. Still on? I'm a copywriter by trade. I do some consulting with people. I got a client right now. I'm kind of taking by the hand and helping them through everything they need to do to get to not only get the piece written, but to get it out. It's one of the best clients I've had, and I'm going to talk about some of the worst clients I've had too. And I'm also going to talk about a few other things, and we'll see where this takes us. Has anybody here not worked with a copywriter before? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, how many people have worked with a copywriter? Those of you that haven't worked with a copywriter, you all know what a copywriter is, I hope. I have had people call me, and I've talked to them for 5 minutes on the phone before I realized they thought I was doing copyrights for patents. Well, what we generally do is, I consider myself Gary calls himself a salesman in print, and that really describes what he does. I consider myself a sales detective. You hire a guy like me to come in and look for the sales kicks or details of your business that I can then put into copy, and then you will either run as an ad or mail as a direct letter, and we'll bring in the business. I say I'm a detective because one of the most common things I find when I deal with people who haven't worked with copywriters before is they take so much of their business for granted that they assume that everybody knows everything they know about their business. They assume that everybody knows that poodles require a 10-minute bath instead of a 12-minute bath that the Dobermans need, and that the widgets are all made in West Germany and not Japan. Often the details that I find from clients I don't get until after I've interviewed them several times, and then we start getting to what I consider the meat, and they consider almost irrelevant stuff. So when you work with a copywriter, the best thing you can do is to be absolutely upfront about everything, and don't let the little governor in your mind say that's irrelevant, or that doesn't that's not a sales point. Let the copywriter decide that. That's what we're trained to do. Typically, when we do things called they're called bullets. The major part of any letter, first you want to get somebody's attention in the letter. You want to get them reading what you're doing, and then you want to kind of deliver your sales pitch as succinct as possible. But you want to break it down. And the typical way that I do it is by doing it in bullets. A bullet is a little dot next to a sentence or a statement. And those bullets, we found, Gary and I sometimes have written letters, and we have 6 pages of bullets. I notice that a lot of advertising out there consists of essentially one bullet. Most of the TV ads you see for car commercials, for example, are essentially just one fraction of the sales pitch, which I think is really dumb. One of the things that Gary and I talked about doing, we wish we could have gotten one of the accounts for General Motors or something, and they would have given us a chance to use our sales techniques to sell cars, but it'll never happen. They're way too stupid is one way to put it. You said there's more incompetence in advertising than there is in any other field except possibly psychiatry. Uh, yeah, it baffles me. And what really hurts is that these guys get so damn much money for it too. They if I could just get a fraction of the GM account, if they did direct mail, and they don't do direct mail. I have a friend I grew up with in high school who now runs a major agency out of San Francisco, and he won't talk to me because we're essentially on opposite ends of the spectrum of advertising. He looks down on direct mail. He does stuff where they have little slogans. That's essentially what his ads are nice pictures of people romping at the beach and a little slogan, and that can be for anything from a bank to a car to hygiene products. Anyway, I used to live in Los Angeles, and I live in Lake Tahoe now. It's a point I was thinking about before I was coming up here to speak. The day I left Los Angeles was in August. Santa Monica Bay was polluted with a sewage spill, and all the beaches were closed. They just had homicides number 208 to 212 on their way to a record number of 267 homicides for the month of August. That's people poisoned, shot, stabbed, and run over on purpose. There were a lot of other people that died from other causes. There was a traffic jam on my way out of town, and there was a smog alert. Now, I was in Los Angeles for 10 years. I considered it the center of the maelstrom. I considered it part of the major universe. It was not only a major part of the Pacific Rim market, but it was also part of the world market. And I consider it a city in decline. I was talking with Gary before. We both have fond memories of Los Angeles, but it's sort of like someone you knew a long time ago and you had a lot of fun with, and now they're old and tired and they're no fun anymore.
My supposed to be like this there.
I know. I'll do some house hunting for you, Dave, up in the Tahoe. Anyway, the reason why I bring that up is there anybody here who does not believe that we're in for a whole rash of social and economic upheaval that's going to make the previous century look very mild in comparison, including both the world wars we went through? There's some very serious stuff coming down the pipes, and I think the days of being able to kind of tread water and have fun in business and kind of coexist pleasantly with your competition are gone. There's going to be two classes of people. There's going to be those who make it, and there's going to be the rest of the people that don't make it. It's no longer a matter of just making a big time or making it okay anymore with your competition. It's a matter of being in the game or not being in the game at all. So you really got to pay attention to what everybody's saying up here, because it's literally going to be one of your survival skills when you go back. You've got to make your business be your ticket to surviving in the coming economic collapse. Anyway, to get off that subject, I want to talk about, from a copywriter standpoint, what I consider to be nightmare clients. I've worked with a lot of people in the room here. None of you are on this list. At least I'm not admitting it. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I think if you do see a little bit of yourself in here, you might want to think about the next time you work with a copywriter. And I assume that most of you, even the ones that haven't worked with a copywriter, at some point in your lives, you're going to be working with one. Even if you're doing most of the writing yourself, if you become successful and you follow all of the things you learn here, and you will be successful, you're not going to want to continue to do all the writing yourself, or you're going to have too much to do. You're going to have to deal with copywriters at some point. So from a copywriter's standpoint, like I said, I've been in the game for 12 years. These are some examples of what I consider nightmare clients. The first one I call Mr. Mule. He's a stubborn control freak, the kind of guy that can't let go of any part of his business. When you hire a copywriter to come in, you have to let go. You have to let me do my job. I had one client, we did a mailing for him. It pulled 35 to 1. For every dollar that he spent in the mailing, he got $35 back. I think Kyle mentioned that a one-to-one mailing for a lot of marketers is considered a good mailing. If you have a good back end, just breaking even on mailings can do very well. 35 to 1 is phenomenal. Anyway, this guy would not mail the piece again. That's another. That's a basic tenet, is that if you got a piece that works, you keep mailing it until it breaks even, till it stops becoming when it goes below break even, then you change your tactic. We begged, threatened, cajoled this guy. Finally, he did mail it again about 6 months later, and pulled something like 20 to 1 or 19 to 1. And then he absolutely refused to mail it again because he says, he just didn't want to do that. It was his way of maintaining control. I have no idea what was going through his head, to tell you the truth. I don't make money unless the piece makes money. I deal on a percentage basis. So it's really frustrating for me to come across these guys, and there are a lot of people out there like this. I finally got my current client to remail something. They had pulled 7 to 1. They finally mailed it again. They pulled, I think, 4 to 1. And so now they're eager to mail it for the 3rd time. And I think we'll mail it for a 4th time, maybe a 5th time. Another example of a nightmare client is the victim, who wants me essentially to recreate his business. A lot of people are so naive about what's going on. They don't understand the basic sales techniques. It's kind of embarrassing for me to say something that really is just about as basic as you can get, and have their eyes kind of roll in their head, and it's like they've just been delivered a revelation from God. A lot of times these victims are broke. They don't need a copywriter. They need a business partner. And that's not my job. I can help people to a large degree, but I don't want to get involved in your business. I want you to run the business, and I'll come in and try to flood you with customers, but you got to take it from there. I had an example was this guy had poured his life savings into his business, and I found out he was going to have to borrow money to pay my fee. When I found that out, I refused to work with. The best thing I could tell him was, at this point, maybe it's best for you to go bankrupt and start over again. Sometimes that's hard to hear. At these seminars, sometimes we get people coming up with products that the best thing they can hear from the experts is, it's a bad idea, drop it. And it's real tough for someone to hear, especially if they've been working on it for 5-10 years or all their life, and especially if they're banking their entire future on this product, if they think it's going to be their magic pill. If a guy who's very experienced in his business tells you it isn't going to work, I suggest you heed that advice. Third nightmare client, I call him Mr. Stencil. This guy, is like the computer nerd with tunnel vision. Has to work backwards. I had a client who was mailing for years a piece that had no letter in it. It was 4-color, very gaudy, mailed to 3rd class, and it was essentially a fold-out brochure type of thing that you had to unfold this way and this way, and pretty soon it came out to the size of a bed sheet. And he had the same copywriter for several years who was writing the copy, and when he came to me, he wanted me to write copy. He essentially wanted the same format. He wanted different copies. He says, my copywriter's kind of tired. They're not coming up with any good stuff, and I need to revitalize my business and my mailing. But he wanted me to stay with that 30 by 40 fold-out brochure, and he had 3 price breaks on the order card. Well, for his product, I came up with a first-class piece on a letter, 4-page letter, I believe, with selling only one item rather than the 3 he was selling. He fought me all the way on this, and we finally mailed it, and the sales went through the roof. And he kept mailing. He mailed it for a year and a half, I think. But he hit one bad period where the piece didn't pull very well, and there was some possibility that the mailing he had maybe didn't make it to the people. It might have got dumped by the post office. The numbers didn't seem to make sense, but he latched onto that and said, "Hey, it doesn't work anymore, John. You know, I need something else. Can you write me something for a 30 by 40 brochure?" And he hasn't mailed that piece since. And you know, I talked to somebody else in the office, and they said, "Well, you know, the order takers, the girls in the office, they're used to taking the orders the way they had them before. It was 3 orders, 3 price breaks." And it caused a lot of confusion in the office, and the accountant was a little upset about the piece that I wrote. So, you know, there's a special place in hell for that guy. Another type of client is Mr. No Guts. Some of the stuff you've all read, if you've been reading Gary Halbert's letter and the pitches that we've been sending out over the years, I have written a lot of the copy with Gary. You know that we tend towards the sensational, to call a spade a spade. There are people that seem to worry that the way we write will somehow harm their reputation or something. It's kind of hard for me to understand because you won't have a reputation if you don't have a business, if you don't have any money. We had, actually, I have dozens of examples of this. It happens all the time. People fight me on the wording I use. I write words like gotta, G-O-T-T-A, ain't. We use words like scum a lot. We had one guy who told us essentially, you know, "John, your piece is great. It's just great, but my wife doesn't like the word scumball in the headline, you know. She wants to change it to person or persons inversely inclined to non-benevolent behavior." And I hope he rots in hell too. And you know what, copywriters don't come cheap. There are cheap copywriters out there. Most of the guys here, you know, we're essentially making a living wage. We're worth every cent because the money that you spend on a copywriter or for any professional help you get, you're going to make back, and your first money back is going to pay for that and more, if he does his job. It's ridiculous to hire somebody. And essentially, it's the same thing you do if you hire a plumber. What's a plumber make these days? $150 an hour in the metro areas, and then go and sit there and try to tell him how to do his job. It's ridiculous. You want him to get in and get out as soon as possible, and you want him to do the job he was paid to do. That's all we ask as copywriters. Let us do it. I tell people that want to change my copy, you can change it, you can do whatever you want, but it's in my contract that you have to mail out what I write, the way I write it, the way I want it sent out. You can test your idea against that. You can change the headline, you can do whatever you want, but you've got to test my piece. And that usually quiets the protest down a little bit. Another client is Mr. No Glory, comes after No Guts. The guy that can't handle success. This is a Gary Halbert example. It's so great. I stole it. A guy called him up one time and said, "Gary, the piece you wrote has sent my office into chaos. The phones are ringing off the hook, and my office is in turmoil." And Gary's reply was, "Look, you didn't hire me to solve that kind of a problem. You hired me to create that kind of a problem." And that's really the truth. It's amazing how many people come back to me and tell me that the piece is, you know, if I could calm down the piece or somehow, you know, taper it or something. The last nightmare client I have here is the dunce, the guy who never learns, never listens, and he's never prepared. People like this often become vampires who will. I give a lot of free advice. I'm always open on the phone. I'll talk to anybody. And it's frustrating for me, though, to talk to people who want to seem to get everything I have to offer, up to a point, and they never follow through on anything. The dunce is the guy he's the 20% of the population who takes up 80% of your time. I'm sure if you're in business, you have these people in your life too. I gave one guy a phone consultation. I figured out his marketing problem, and he begged me for copy ideas. And I went into my copywriter mode, which is my mind kind of clicks into. I think all the copywriters do this. We just kind of click into another mode, and we just start rattling off this stuff. And I talked for 20 minutes to this guy. I gave him a dozen headlines, gave him his opening lead paragraph. I gave him bullets. I gave him how to do his pitch. I did all this. Just went on and on and on. I was smoking actually, and then I stopped and he says, "John, this is great. This is just great. This is really wonderful." I said, "Great. Did you get all that written down?" He says, "No, didn't you?" He said, "Could you do that again?" This was a freebie too, by the way. So I politely hung up on him. More customers isn't going to help this guy. He can't sell what he has to who he's already selling to. So, there are a lot of people up here who sell stuff in various ways. All of us that are speaking are salesmen in one way or another. And one of the basic things you need to do is to pick up. Gary's talked about it for years, and he keeps hammering it home. And I think people don't pay much attention to it. I think people have a bad attitude towards salesmen. But it's really true that Gary, coming from an encyclopedia salesman background, just really helped him as a salesman in print. Jay Abraham says the same thing. He did a lot of sales when he was younger. What was I talking about? I haven't been listening to myself either, son. You're a salesman, right? Yeah, well, it was a great point.
Gary, you've been trying to handle this one for years. You've been trying to handle this one for years.
And right.
John, this is MMR.
Yeah, I was up late writing charity copy for the widows and orphans. Anyway, you should learn as much as you can about sales. I have helped a lot of writers come up. My phone's open to anybody that wants to learn how to be a copywriter, because for some reason the pipeline has been drying up lately, and it's kind of alarming. When I came up 12 years ago, there was a lot of guys around trying to learn and hanging around. Now there's a dearth of people who want to be copywriters. It's a great life. I work at home. I don't even meet my clients. I haven't met these guys I've been working with for over a year. We deal strictly on the phone. My phone number is area code 702-832-5355. It's Lake Tahoe, yeah. 702-832-5355, and 5357 is the fax. I'm a night owl, so if you call before noon, you'll get my machine. That's another great point. That's what drove me into working for myself, was like, that 8 to 5 stuff just didn't cut it. Half the day I was asleep. Anyway. But my point was, I help a lot of people coming up. Gary has found a gem in Evan, who I think is going to speak today or tomorrow. But he's become a rarity now. A young guy who's willing to do the work that needs to be done to become a good copywriter. It takes a long time. You've got to find. You've got to read a lot of books. You've got to really get up on stuff. It's very, very tough. That's why I recommend hiring copywriters, by the way. I recommend you try to do it yourself, but then I also recommend that you work with a copywriter. Like I say, they pay for themselves with the first time the ad goes out. But I found when I was the writers that I have worked with, it's much easier for me to teach someone who was a high school dropout to write good sales copy than it is to take someone who, say, had a PhD in English Lit to learn how to sell. So I get a lot of people saying, I can't be a copywriter because I'm not creative and I can't write well. Well, I've been spending the last 12 years learning how not to write well. I have a college education, and I've been trying to downsize myself to get to Gary's position, which is since about third grade level, I guess. But it's really true that it's the salesman. It's the salesman it's the salesmanship in the writing that does the work for you, not the writing. I'm sure you've all seen our pieces where it's amazing to me that people are amazed at the way that Gary writes. You get letters all the time saying, how can you have such bad English? How can you, your grammar was wrong. I mean, it's ridiculous because
I went to Dan Quayle.
let me tell you about the one dream client, and like I say, I'm lucky enough to have stumbled on one right now. The dream client is ethical. He's informed about marketing techniques. He's up on his competitors, and he has realistic goals. Sometimes it's hard to get realistic goals. It helps to talk to experts. It helps to listen to people, and it helps to immerse yourself in your business and also in other people's businesses. Learn all about the oranges if you sell apples. The dream client lets me do my job, works with me, and then he acts. There's a book out called Ready, Fire, Aim. That's a good philosophy to have. Action will solve a lot of problems and a lot of headaches that you'll have worrying about whether a piece is going to work, worrying about if you've priced it right, if you're in the right market or whatever. You can worry about that stuff for years, and it isn't good. You're never going to get an answer. It's never going to happen. Nail the damn thing. See what happens. The dream client understands the importance of investing in his marketing. He pays top dollar without complaining, and I want to underline without complaining, for creative help, and he'll cut his costs everywhere else but there. Your creative help, the guys doing the writing is that's your lifeblood.
Yeah, I want to make a point about that.
Sit down.
I want to make a point about that. You know, it's like someone selling you a billboard. They say you can get it for $5 a year on Sunset Boulevard. It costs $20,000 a month. The only thing is, billboards in the middle of the Amazon jungle. That's the same as getting, creative help on the cheap. That's the difference. It isn't how much it costs; it's whether it works or not. Good creative help is free because it makes you more money. Bad creative help, becomes expensive.
Yeah, that's true. That's an excellent point.
That's
And I see that I've written down here, I've described my dream client, which is really these guys I'm working with. This guy called me, didn't quibble about my fee. I get a lot of people quibbling about my fee. I am not real expensive. Gary is not really expensive. Although sometimes you have to hold your breath when you hear how much we want right off the bat. It's not expensive. We've been in the business a long time, and we're not charging fees to shock anybody, and we're not charging fees to do anything other than to we know what we need to make and what we're worth because we've been doing it for so long. This dream client I have, he let me interview him, and he opened up his business to me. He told me things he would not tell anybody else, and in fact, he told me things that if I told his competitors, it would have harmed him. Now, I don't recommend that you just start opening up your heart and your life to people until you trust them. This guy trusts me because I happen to have known him for several years also. But by doing that, I came up with some sales points that went on pieces. We've got several pieces out pulling 7-to-1, 8-to-1. We're doing some dynamite stuff, and I couldn't have.
Does anyone not know what 7-to-1 or 8-to-1 means? Some people may not know that, John.
I explained it at the start. It means the one is for every dollar you spend. So the term will always be whatever number to one. A 1-to-1 mailing would be a break-even mailing. You get $1 back for every dollar you spend, and that dollar you spend includes everything you pay to the letter shop, plus the postage, the printing, everything to get out, whatever it takes to get out a letter. And the letter can cost you anything from 50 cents to $1 to up. Gary sent out dollar letters with dollar stapled to him, so his cost would be up. And then whatever money you get back would be the money. So these guys are getting back $7 in orders for every dollar in cost that they send out. After a while, it would, not on the first mailing. Because after a while, my fee just disappears because it's a one-time thing. But I also work on a percentage. So, like I said, if the piece works, I get paid. I make a lot of money. I charge. It kind of depends. I used to have a flat fee, and I don't have a flat fee anymore because it didn't make sense. I worked with people who were who it depends on the product. There are different kinds of products to sell. There are high-priced products. There are low-priced products. There are products going out to a vast market that are going to mail in the millions. There are products that are going out to markets that are very, very small and will not mail a lot. So I used to have a per piece mail percentage, and it was for every letter you sent out, I would get a little bit. I also had a percentage of gross. I'll be glad to talk to anybody, but I don't have a fee that I can really just throw out. How much you got? Okay, that's that part of the speech. Do you want me to keep going? I have another part.
Okay, because we'll have a session.
Okay, that's my little spiel. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Keep going.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Ciao.